So in this segment, we're going to be discussing, what's her face, Suella Braverman being absolutely clowned in select committees over the amount of money we're spending on asylum seekers, and the fact that she hasn't got the figures. She doesn't know how much these hotels are costing us because the government refuses to process asylum seekers. Amongst other things, she doesn't have the figures for any of this stuff, which she should really have, because the government is paying for this stuff, and that's because of her bad policies. So let's have a listen.
It's common stages. It's now in the Lords, as you know. I think it's its final day.
She's talking about the illegal immigration bill, the one that's really bad and could have been blocked by a certain party, but we can't discuss that because apparently that helps a certain other party.
For the committee stage in the Lords. Why have we still not got an economic impact assessment?
Well, we obviously have produced lots of documents surrounding the need for the bill.
She looks like she's struggling. She's flicking through papers, trying to buy herself some time, and she's hitting the mic, which will become very annoying as this video goes on.
I need to set out the context. We've got a very urgent problem here relating to illegal migration. It's one of the Prime Minister's priorities and mine as well. 45,000 people travelling across the Channel illegally last year. We're spending £6 million a day on hotel accommodation, £3 billion a year. So doing nothing is not an option.
I would like you just to answer the question, because I know other members want to come in. So why have we not got the economic impact assessment?
Well, the
which
reason
is a requirement really for members to know how much this bill is going to cost.
We will be publishing.
So they're talking about the illegal immigration bill there, how much it's actually going to cost the country, because that will include some of the stuff about flying, I think, more people to Rwanda and things like that. Sorry, that's an awkward pause.
In due course.
When does that mean? I mean, the bill will have finished all its stages and been given royal assent by the time we get this, won't it?
The issue is that there are many unknown factors relating to...
The facts
if I could finish a sentence,
sorry,
then we might be able to get somewhere.
I'm intrigued with what you're saying. There's many unknown factors of a bill that's 3/4 of its way through the House of Lords.
There are many unknown factors upon which the bill's success is contingent. I'm very happy to admit that. But I would also say, to my mind, it's pretty obvious what the economic impact of the bill will be. We'll stop spending £3 billion a year on our asylum cost. We will stop. It's a bill which will lead to the cessation of 45,000 people in hotels and £6 million a day. And to my mind, those are savings which we cannot ignore.
Okay.
So as far as I'm aware, the bill will send people to Rwanda and other places like that, but I don't think they'll have enough places to deport that many people. So it's not really going to save anything. All it's going to do is create a more miserable situation for people trying to escape war and other kinds of persecution, which is just, kind of, it shows you like this kind of right-wing kind of populist Tory mantra of, even if you're trying to escape the worst of humanity, you're going to run into some of the worst of humanity in Suella Braverman and, the Home Office policies. But yeah, the fact that they don't have an impact assessment report tells me that it's going to cost a ridiculous amount of money, probably more than what they're spending now, to be honest, and they don't want to admit that. And the fact that MPs haven't been given an impact assessment report is just incredibly bad, honestly, because surely that MPs, in order to vote for a bill, should have impact assessments to know how much the bill is going to cost. Surely that should factor in the way you vote. So genuinely just shocking behaviour from Braverman, who just acts really smug and like, well, I don't have to give you this, do I? It's just embarrassing. Her and quite a few of the other ministers have this attitude of, we're above you, we can do what we want, and it just doesn't. Parliament doesn't work that way.
Are you able to help us with what the financial assessment of detaining all those that will need to be detained in the bill? What's the cost of that? Because you're going to detain people for at least up to 28 days. So what's the cost of that?
Well, again, we
might have a better idea of that, because the government quietly awards a travel firm £1.6 billion contract for asylum barges and accommodation. So I don't think we're 100% sure on how many people this barge can house. But look at the state of this thing. We're actually going to put actual human beings in this thing. I just can't fathom it, and we'll be talking about this in a second, but this is going to cost around £1.6 billion, I believe, a year, and it was awarded without any competition. And so what they're saying is, because this thing is cheaper than the current system now, it's going to be better, but I don't think they'll have enough space in this thing to house all of the asylum seekers coming in. Plus, it's just... we're a so-called developed country that's meant to have compassionate conservatives, right? What's compassionate about putting people in a barge? Honestly, it's mental. Let's carry on the clowning.
We are keeping that under review. I mean, again, that is an unknown. I cannot predict the number of people who are going to be arriving on any one day illegally.
You can estimate it, though. You can estimate. It's not illegal to claim asylum, but you can estimate. You can say if this many people come through, this is how much it will cost. Things like that. You can do estimates, and you should have estimates. But she doesn't.
We have past experience, but we know that these numbers really vary. When
you can estimate it. Honestly, you can say if it's 40,000 or whatever like last year, how much will it cost? And the clowning continues.
Who's answering this question? I'm just conscious of time, so we do
Oh, I'm just going to turn the volume down slightly.
need to
This is the mic hitting I'm
Keep
talking
going.
about.
I don't have the specific number of hotels. You might, Dan.
So you don't know how many
You
hotels
just threw Dan under the bus.
are
I've got the number of people. It's about 45,000 people.
I know you've got.
in hotels.
I've got people myself.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in the amount of hotels that are in use.
We do have that number because I've looked at the spreadsheet with all the hotels. I think it's in the hundreds.
So can
but
you write
I don't have the specific number.
Surely that's something you should know. Surely that's something you can celebrate. You can say, look, because of this illegal immigration bill, we don't have to use the 300 or whatever hotels we're using now. Surely that's something you can talk about. And we'll just talk about the state of this barge. It's going to cost around £1.6 billion.
Claims are being processed. It's just
This thing's going to go around England, around the UK by the looks of it. Just goddamn, people are going to see, actual human beings are going to see this, and they might have a bit more sympathy for the people on this barge because this thing's ugly as hell. And what happens if there's a fire or something on board? Like, are there medical professionals stationed around? What happens if there's an accident or a fight or something? Anything can happen. Who's going to be dealing with that?
coming into Falmouth for an inspection and a few repairs and renovations before it will head up to Portland Port in Weymouth.
It's just nuts. Honestly, look at the state of this thing. Look at the state of this thing. It's rusted as hell. We're paying £1.6 billion to put people there. Honestly, on a barge, it's like we don't even treat prisoners like this. People that have committed horrific crimes aren't treated like this, and we're treating vulnerable people in society. And their biggest crime was crossing the English Channel to seek asylum in the UK. Honestly, they talk about how great global Britain is and how powerful we are and all this sovereignty nonsense. But when people actually want to come here and seek asylum here for whatever reason, surely that should be seen as a mark of success for the country that people want to come here to seek asylum. But instead, we want to put them in a place like this as a deterrent. I don't think it's going to deter people. Honestly, they might think of it as they can stick it out in Calais or wherever, or they can stick it out in one of these for 28 days and get their asylum claim heard. Because all the deterrents the government have tried with Rwanda and stuff, it's just not working, and I think it will continue to fail. Because you have to look at the factors of why people are claiming asylum in the first place, and that's something the government have failed to do constantly. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Shouts out to Braverman for getting clowned again, and I'll catch you in the next one.